Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. I'm going to guess that you may not have ever heard of somebody that does this, but I can tell you firsthand in talking with her, in working with her, it's legit. Animal communication. There are people who have an ability or may have been trained that can communicate with our animals, know what they're thinking, know what they would say if they could verbalize it, know where they came from in their past. Let's say you adopted a rescue, but also communicate with animals that have passed over. That in itself is amazing. But then when you add to that somebody that has psychic ability, whoa, you got a lot going on there. And that's the description of this person. She's amazing. And she's got all of that, and she's back with us. Shirley Scott joins us on the program. Hey, Shirley, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Steve. How about you?
Wonderful. And you have helped me through some challenges with my dogs and my cats using communication skills, being able to listen to what they're sending out. And I thank you because it's helped in a number of situations, right down to silly ones like my cats peeing outside the litter box out of nowhere. But we figured out why they were doing it, and they stopped immediately. I want to go over to the psychic side of you. How do you describe what that is?
Well, I know I live in a completely different world than most people. My psychic side is where I see things. I can... the first time it ever happened to me, I was seeing what I thought it was a ghost coming through a wall. It was a spirit guide. I can see energies around people's heads and around animals and plants. And, when a bird flies by and I really connect with it, it's flying like in a round rainbow. And so my psychic side is sort of a natural thing for me. And I do have a great spirit guide that helps me bring in a lot of information. But I've been doing this for so long, it's almost just kind of natural for me to know what's going on with other people or in the world before they do.
When did you notice that you had something going on there?
I probably knew it a lot in my life because I could do a lot of stuff, especially in math. I could know the answer before. My algebra teacher hated me because he'd put something on the board and I'd tell him the answer and he'd just sit there and look at me like, you can't do it that way. You have to figure it out. But when I had my near-death out-of-body is when it really slapped me upside the head. And because, people would say to me, I can remember a waitress saying to me one time that she didn't feel well, and I said, it was pepperoni on your pizza last night. And she looked at me and she said, how did you know that? And I was like, oh, did I actually say that? So things like that came naturally to me throughout my life. But after my near death, it was really brought forward.
You mentioned that briefly, your near-death experience. What happened there?
I took a sugar-free mint that was sweetened with aspartame, and I am highly allergic to aspartame, and within 4 minutes, all my veins were collapsing.
I don't even know what to say. I didn't even...
Yeah, so now I have to be real careful because if I have any artificial or refined sugars, I have 4 minutes or less to live. So I know that. But, yeah, my veins collapsed, and I got to watch the paramedics work on me from outside my body. I was floating above my body, could hear everything they said and were doing, and when they went to use the chest paddles on me, I remember thinking, I don't want those used because it's going to bruise my body. Not that it'd bring me back to life, because there was no panic. I remember going, wow, look, I'm dying. It was no panic. And when I said I don't want them used on me, the voice behind me said, then go back and stay conscious. And I turned around to see who it was, and I slammed back into my body so hard. I yelled, the paramedics yelled, and they found a vein in my hand to squeeze saline solution in to open up my veins.
Wow. Had no idea that was the situation with your near-death experience. Oh, my gosh.
And it'll be 25 years in February that happened. And I remember it like yesterday. I mean, I could see my body with they had oxygen on me, they had heart monitors, they had tourniquets on my arms trying to find my veins, and I could hear everything the paramedics were saying to me, my blood pressure, everything. I mean, my blood pressure got down to 69/38, and that was under a tourniquet. So, and that's when they thought they're going to have to code me in 30 seconds. Yeah.
Wow. Got to ask you, that experience, what were you seeing? What were you feeling at that time?
I was in a cloud. I was definitely floating above my body in a white cloud, very peaceful, felt no panic, and if you could call it love, I felt surrounded and supported. And I knew that my body was dying, and I kept saying to myself, and I can remember I thought a lot of stuff, like when one of the paramedics was hitting one of my arms, I thought, what the heck is he doing? And the minute I thought it, he said, I can't find a vein. And then when the other paramedics was taking my blood pressure under the tourniquet, I remember thinking, my blood pressure is going to be sky high because he's under the tourniquet. That's wrong. And the minute I said it, he would tell me what my blood pressure was. But there was no panic at all. I just didn't, and I didn't really say, well, I'm dying, I want to go back, until they were going to use the chest paddles on me. And then it was like, I'm an Aries, and Aries are kind of arrogant about our looks, and I didn't want to get.
Listen,
bruised.
I got a 16-year-old daughter, Aries. Believe me,
oh,
I
there
get
you
it.
go.
She just texted me before and said, "Can I have money to get my nails done?" So I'm aware.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want them to bruise my chest,
sure.
Because that's what they do. So that's why I said, I don't want them to use the paddles on me, and that's when the voice, and it was a male voice. And it was very loving, and it said, then go back and stay conscious. And when I slammed back into my body, the only thing I could think of was, try to open your eyes. I couldn't talk because my tongue was swollen out of my mouth because I had no circulation. But finally, after they opened up my veins and stuff, I could talk, and I kept saying, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. And I realized after I got out of the hospital the next day that, and I just started my spiritual path, that it wasn't about being conscious, about being awake and walking around. It was really being conscious about all my thoughts, my deeds, my actions, my words. And that's what really got me on my path.
Where did the animal communication come into play here? Because, here you are. It was somebody with intuitive ability. You can connect on many different levels. And then how does that work with the animal communication part? Some people study it. Did that just come naturally, or did you take courses in that as well?
No, that came naturally.
Yeah.
That came naturally. I was reading people right after my near death. I read people for about 2 years. And then I had a friend that she used to sell pet hair picker-uppers at dog shows. And she said, I want you to come to a dog show. If you can do people, you can do animals. And I said, well, I kind of have my own, and talked to him. And she said, no, come on. So we went up to this big dog show, and she said, just stand in my booth, and they bring their dogs by to buy my product. Talk to the dog on the QT type thing. I said, okay. So we're walking around the groomer's tent, because she said, let's go in there and see what you get. I said, great. So we're walking around, and all of a sudden she announces, ladies and gentlemen, in my booth this weekend, I have a world-renowned animal communicator, so come on by and get a reading for your dog.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, what? And so that weekend, I read dogs all weekend and connected with them, and I helped a Papillon at one point who was scared of the judge. They were going to get rid of this little Papillon, and the lady came by and said, if this dog doesn't behave in the ring, she said, she'll do everything we want, and then she gets in the ring, and the judges ask her, and she just shuts down. So I asked her what was wrong, and this little dog said, I don't like their hat. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but I said, well, the judge wear a hat? Because she's scared to death of the hat. And she goes, oh, yeah, they have a top hat on type thing. And so I told this little dog that it wouldn't hurt her, and it was fine, but if she didn't start minding in the ring, they were going to have to sell her. And a couple hours later, they come out, and she had won first place, and no fear at all of the judge.
What is the most strangest connection you've made? Because I want to put together the connection of your psychic ability with an animal that has passed on to the other side.
Oh, the strangest connection with an animal. That's really difficult. difficult because there's been so many. I think that I did have a dog one time that told me, and I was reading their owner who had a very sick dog, and the dog was ready to cross and told me that, and the other dog came forward before they had to even ask about it, how the other dog was doing. They had lost this other dog, I guess, a couple months before, and they hadn't told me. And this dog came through and said, I will be there to meet the dog when he crosses so you don't have to worry. And these people just kind of went ballistic because they couldn't believe that was happening. But, I kind of told them what the dog had said and what it looked like, because the dog let me see what it had looked like on Earth. And so, yeah, that was kind of amazing.
Wow. I can't imagine being somebody like you and having these connections and things coming up. How do you shut it off?
I have learned to never really shut it off, but I do turn it down a little bit. When I first started this, I was seeing, in some cases, like, blood, guts, and gore a little bit, especially if the animal was hit by car stuff. And I just asked that I don't see that I just see, like, the car, or, I just know it, that it just comes through as a knowing. So I've trained myself, and if things get real hectic, I do ask that, things just kind of be turned down a little bit so I can function. And it takes practice to do that, because sometimes, you look out the window and out of the corner of your eye and, you see somebody standing on your front porch and you kind of go, oh, okay, somebody's out there. But I know when it's real and when it's not. So, yeah, my world is different than most people's. I think that's why I live in the middle of the woods, because even going into a town or a city, I don't go into cities anymore because the energy just kind of drives me insane. So, and I only go into my small little town about once every 2 weeks. So.
Do you seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, just because the energy is just too much to deal with?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
It's too intense. So, but it's fine. I love my place in the woods. I have all my animals. I have my deer that come down and talk to me, and the blue jays, and yeah, it's really fun to be in my world a lot of times.
So it's really fun to hear you say that. It is, because I can feel it. I feel the energy coming from you, that you love what you do, you love where you are in your life and the abilities that you have, and just it seems like it's a perfect blend. You had the psychic ability you discovered, then the animal communication, but wait, there's more. You know animals because where you live and your upbringing and your life. I've never even a vet. I don't get that kind of insight from.
Well, and it's funny because even like the deer, when they go into rut, which is their mating season, you know it because their throats are swollen, and they don't come around people as much. But or I know when it's going to snow because the deer come down extra early because they want some corn or something. And if it's cloudy, I know it's going to rain or it's going to snow. And so it's something that I have done for so long that it's so natural. You can watch the animals and you know if it's going to rain or not by what they do, not only by the sky, but they know the barometer. And the animals are very sensitive to barometer changes. That's why when there's going to be a hurricane or something, the animals try to get away because the barometer is going crazy, and it really messes with their ears and their head.
So on the psychic side, I want to focus back on that for just a moment.
Okay.
How does that work? Like, do you have people say to you, "Hey, what are you getting?" How do you get into that zone? How do you connect? By the way, side note, you got anything on me, I'm an open book. You just throw it right at me. I'll validate it, whatever needs to be done. Do you feel it? Like, how does it work?
Steve, I'm not sure how it works. It just seems to come into my head that this is what's happening. I was talking to a client this morning, and she's going to go through a bad divorce, and we were talking about her cats and how the cats want to get away from her soon-to-be ex, and how, I described her ex to her to a T, and she just was like, "How did you know all that? Because you're right on." But I tap into the energy, and the energy of somebody tells me anything. Like, okay, and Steve, let's do Steve. Steve is a really nice guy that has a lot of animal love in him, and he doesn't care what kind of animal it is. I'd be surprised if you ever stepped on a spider, to be honest with you. And that's the type of person you are. You're a little bit, people see that, and sometimes they can, try to take advantage of you in some ways, and you have learned to be a little cautious of people because you have been taken advantage of, but you try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And animals read that in you as well as humans.
You're spot on, because I have changed my view of life in the last few years because of certain situations and such. And I pilot by this phrase: love everyone, trust few, do the right thing for all. And the trust few is just, life's tribulations and trials of, learning things. And on the animal side, even on the spider, I might pick him up, put him outside just because. But I encountered somebody, I don't know if I shared this with you. I encountered, it was a situation here where I live, big pond, and huge, been there for decades. You take your kids there, you just walk around, just wonderful nature, just delightful. Storm came a couple of months ago, took out a road, took out the dam. The pond just emptied into the harbor.
Ooh, yeah.
And now there were these mammoth fish, 50 years old, in the mud, flopping around, waiting to die. And you got the wildlife and everything. I'm going to tell you, I got sad. Like, I was genuinely beside myself. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, things happen, right? But all the, you're seeing it on social media. People are posting, I used to go to this pond. And I said to a friend, wow, I'm really bummed out. Like, I just, can't imagine, this big hole in the ground now, and what it brought to the community. And the person said to me, you're just a tree hugger. What do you even care about that? And I'm like, I just, I just think you don't get it. You just don't get it.
And that's just it. A lot of people don't get it, And I mean, even trees need to be hugged because trees are alive and trees do have an energy about them. And that's the way I treat my world, that everything in this world is alive and has feelings. And if you can get to that point in your life, then you can, you radiate an energy where you are putting out love for everything that needs it. And your trust level is, it's sort of like an animal. I'll trust you to a point, but if you hurt me, I'm not going to trust you again. And loving everything without judgment is a huge task. But if you can get there, it's a wonderful place to live.
Absolutely. Amen to that. And by the way, there are some times where I think, wouldn't it be great to be places like where you are, in the woods? It's just, because there's just something about it. There's something about it. Yeah.
The animal kingdom is not Walt Disney movie. It's tough. It's hard. It's survival. But there's so much beauty in it, too. There really is so much beauty in it.
How does somebody connect with you? If they want a reading on the psychic side, if it's going to be a connection with an animal, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to do that is go to my website, which is Shirley, and there's a dash, Scott.com. So it's just my first and last name with a dash in the middle, Shirley-Scott.com. We have a contact page there, and the best way is to email me because I'm on the phone a lot, and where I live, we don't have the answering machines when you're on the phone. That's how far out I live. So it'll ring and ring and ring, and you won't get me. So email me, and I do try to get back to all of my clients within 24 hours to set up a day and time. And You can put a little bit of what you want on there, whether it's for you or for your animals or both. And then we just set up a day and time, and we go from there. Yeah.
Before we close it out, I want to talk about your books for just a moment. You have quite a few, and also CDs. Somebody can learn how to do animal communication, and you have a book that tells how to do that?
I have a CD. I have a CD that walks you through how to start. It's a very beginner's, but it gives people instruction on how to begin. And I do individual lessons over the phone, and I give people homework on what to do, and it really helps them. I've trained a lot of animal communicators. Yeah. Wow.
And to your point of the beginning level of that, you had done that with me. Just gave me some tips on what I need to do, how to use telepathy with my dogs and my cats, and it's made a difference. And my cats, just recapping here, gave me the reason why they were peeing outside the litter box out of nowhere.
Yeah. And the thing we have to remember is when you ask them a question, sit and wait for the answer. Telepathy with me is pretty quick now, because I've been doing it for 25 years, and a day doesn't go by that I don't have a reading or two. So it's pretty quick. When you're first starting it, sometimes it'll be a little slower because people question themselves, am I really hearing that? But you have to really have faith in yourself that you're getting it.
Yeah, and I did wonder. I did wonder if what I was getting from my dog was legit, but then it just seemed like it had to be. And also my cats. And it just like it popped in my head. And by the way, since the last time we talked, that you said if your animals are doing something that, bothers you or hurts you and you want them to change, to show them that you're sad. So that's what I do now when I send a message to them. It's like, Daddy's sad. I appreciate you not doing that. That makes me sad. And I haven't seen the results, but I haven't really, really dug deeper into it.
Yeah. It'll come. And they, too, you have to remember that when we are sending our animals for the first time pictures and telepathy, they kind of look at us like, oh, he might be getting it here, because they're not really used to that. They're used to reading our minds, but when we actually are present with them, it's a harder energy, and not, I don't mean harder as far as bad, but it's more concentrated and it's more focused. And now instead of them just reading our minds, they're actually talking to us.
Final question.
Yeah.
When they when they get a message from you, and they realize that you're sending them a signal, not they're reading your mind, but you're intentionally sending them a signal, do they have new respect for you? Or are they thinking, hey, dude knows how to talk to us. Cool.
Absolutely. They love it. They go, oh, wow. It's like, this is so cool. I can finally get my point across. I can finally tell them what I want. I can finally, sit and look at them and send them my messages, and they're going to get it. Absolutely. And you find that your connection between you and your pet at that point becomes so much more bonded and closer.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to try that. I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. And I have a quieter night tonight, so when I'm sitting on a couch there, I'm going to be sending stuff to them. And
there you go.
Yeah, great. Love it. Shirley, fantastic talking with you. Your website is Shirley-Scott with 2 T's.com. All the information is there on how that somebody can connect with you on all these levels, and also if they want to buy your CDs or books. And it has been... honestly, I've talked to other animal communicators before. You are amazing in what you do. Oh, I genuinely mean it. And you just blow me away with your knowledge of animals. There's nothing that I or anybody has ever brought up that you didn't have an answer to when it comes to just animal behavior in general. Not even just the communication part of it, but just animals in general. You're just amazing. Really amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed the podcast.
Same here.
You so much.
Appreciate it. And
okay.
Looking forward somehow we'll communicate again somewhere in the future.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Thank you so much. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day.
We'll be right back.
Have you ever wondered what your pet is thinking?
Have you ever wanted to tell them something? Do you want to know what is going on in their world? Shirley Scott can help you talk to your animals. As an animal communicator with over 20 years of experience, she knows the questions to ask. She gets the answer right from the animal without letting her human emotions or judgments get in the way. Shirley can help you understand what your pet is trying to tell you. She can help with behavior issues, health problems, and other communication that might help the pet's human understand them better. Her books range from how to deal with ghosts and demons, how to talk to disembodied spirits, a workbook on how to become more positive so you can live a better life, a new children's book written from her goat's point of view, and even an animal communication CD. All of these and more are available on her website. Find out more about Shirley by going to her website at shirley-scott.com. or email her at scott@shirley-scott.com. You'll find that Shirley is friendly, honest, and comes from a positive point of view. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.